ශ්‍රී ලංකාවල තියෙන ග්‍රෆයිට් එක not the rare type ලු. ගොඩක් කට්ටිය අංකල්ලා කාලෙන් වෙන්න ලංකාවේ ග්‍රැෆීන් තියෙනවා අරකයි මේකයි ඉලෙක්ට්‍රික් වෙහිකල් වල බැටරි හදමු කියලා කයි වාරු හදනවා. ඒ කරදරයක් අනේ. But they don't do their research. It's a different type of graphene.
තිසුර පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්නකො තිසුර අර ග්‍රැෆයිට් තියෙනවා. මොකද කරන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ තිසුර මේක හදන්න?
මේගොල්ලෝ ගිහලා එම්බසි වලට යනවා රටවල් යනවා ලොරි ටෝක් දෙනවා හරියට රිසර්ච් එක කරන්න.
Australian Prime Minister was giving they were trying to open like මොකක්ද construction එක පටන් අරගෙන ඌ ස්පීච් එකක් දෙනවා. හරිද? ඌ ස්පීච් එක දෙන්න පාර ආයිනේ. ඌගේ අර මේ කොහොම පත්තරකාරයෝ සෙට් එක මේ ඉන්න පේමට එක මිනිහෙක්ගේ මේ ගෙදරක ප්‍රොපටි එකක් වත්තවට හරි this is the fucking Prime Minister of Australia, okay?
Yeah.
The fucking homeowner who Elliot is like, what are you guys doing in my lawn? Get out of my property.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Prime Minister and the Prime Minister is like, sorry.
Prime Minister says sorry. Oh, he says sorry. That was such a moment in like Australian media because people can say no to the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister like, guys, leave him alone. Like, let's move to the street. Let's do this.
Yeah.
දැන් හිතපන් ඕක දැන් ඉන්දියාවේ ලංකාවේ හරි වුණා නම් මොනිට දවසේදී අරුගේ ගේ ගිනි දෙලා.
මම දැක්කනේ ඇමරිකාවේ ස්ටේට් ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට් එක බැලුවාම හදිස්සියෙන් මෙන්න මේ කවදාවත් උනන්දුවක් දාක්වපු නැති රටවල් ටිකක් එක්ක හදිස්සියෙන් නිකන් ආනේ අපි යාළුවෝ කියලා නිකන් ට්‍රේඩ් ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් ගහලා දෙනවා. බලන්න ගියාම උන් ඔක්කොගෙම අර ක්‍රිටිකල් මිනරල්ස් තියෙන රටවල් ටිකක් හදිස්සියෙම.
Alright. අද එකතු වෙලා ඉන්නේ බන්කාස්ට් එකත් එක්ක අපි රජිත ඉන්නවා හැමදාම වගේ. ඒ වගේම අපිට අද කැලිෆෝනියා වලින් රියල් G කෙනෙක් ඇවිත් ඉන්නවා. තිසුර ගමගේ. කොහමද? hello.
කොහමද?
Tisura, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. මේ විශ්වය එක අපි දෙන පොඩ්කාස්ට් එකක් කරා තිසුරයි මයි. රජිත දන්නේ නෑනේ තිසුරයි මයි ඒ කියන්නේ ඉස්කෝලේ 3 වසරේ වෙනකන් අපි දෙන එකට හිටියා රයිට් 1 2 3
ඔව් නේ 1 2 3 ඊට පස්සෙත් සෙට් උනාද
ඊට පස්සේ හිටියේ නෑ අපි සෙට් උනේම නෑ
අවුරුදු 3
මම වෙස්ටර්න් මියුසික් නොගියගෙන් තමයි අවුල වුනේ
ඒක තමයි
වේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ 3 වසරේ වෙස්ටර්න් මියුසික් කරාද
නෑ ලොකු වුණාට පස්සේ we didn't come to the same class because we didn't do western music ඒකයි
oh
yeah
okay.
Yeah, so it has Tisura have been a great supporter of mine. Again, mama the wishlist කියලා blog එකක් කරා කාලයක්. ඒකේ Tisura මම එකට දේවල් ලිව්වා. We always keep in touch මේ. Thing
so you guys go way back.
wishlist එක අපේ හොඳ වැඩ කරා නේද? ආණ්ඩු පෙරළුවා නේ?
ආණ්ඩු පෙරළුවා. We did a lot of good stuff. දැන් ඒක නෑ.
ඒක නෑ නේ අපරාධ. What's that article? Pardon me, Mr. President.
Oh yeah, it does gonna kill it.
Seriously,
was crazy when I start. Yeah, it was crazy. We did a lot of crazy stuff. So, this sort of thing. Introduce yourself to our gang and Rajita as well, I guess. Like, no,
yes.
you do what's happening.
Oh yes, excellent. So I am a PhD student. Mama මේ දවස්වල සරලව PhD එකක් කරගෙන යනවා. I work in මගේ ඇත්තටම expertise is in energy side. Energy, electricity grid, but mama මේ දවස්වල I'm working on transportation. කට්ටිය කිව්වම හරි confusing ඇයි මේ energy ඇයි transport. But what's interesting is මේ transportation field එකේ nothing happened for the last 50 or 100 years. Henry Ford came up with the car. රෝද හතරක් තියෙනවා. ඒකට chassis එකක් තියලා කට්ටිය broom ගාලා යනවා.
Yeah, no.
And nothing changed for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Now suddenly there's a lot of interest in transportation. හදිස්සියම there's electrification තියෙනවා, autonomous vehicles තියෙනවා. Okay, ඊට පස්සේ e-scooters තියෙනවා. මම අලුතෙන් e-scooter එකක් ගත්තා. හරි ෂොක් නැගලා යනවා බ්‍රූම් ගාලා.
බ්‍රූම් ගන්නෑ නේ.
පොඩ්ඩක් ඒ වගේ කතාවයි. අන්න වගේ ආසල් ගොඩාක් තියෙනවා මට I'm forgetting.
Oh, e-scooters කියද්දි මට මතක් වුණේ wait, you are in California, right?
I'm in California, yes.
So a few years ago I was in San Diego. And it was
Just checking
infested with scooters. This is like 2018 and I had so much fun. Like people would like drink at night and then just race scooters down the street. And I was like, this is the place to live. And they would go fast. They would go like 30-40 kilometers. I don't know what that in American, but it was quite
In American.
fast and scary.
At least 20 miles per hour again.
Anyway,
Yeah,
that was
these
just
things are
my
very
part,
fast. Very unsafe.
Yeah.
So my
Very
scooter
unsafe.
has a limitation for like 15 miles per hour, but it can go faster than that.
Yeah. So we live in a world where you can jailbreak your scooter.
Can hack into it and
Yeah.
apps download කරන්න පුළුවන්. So Tisura, how did you get here? What was the path you took to get into energy?
Well, that's a long story. I went to undergraduate university at Moratoa, and ඔතන ගිහලා energy උනන්දු වුණා. I guess I was interested in wind turbines, so I කැරකෙන දේවල්නේ, moving things. I thought it was fascinating that you can make energy from the wind.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Solar නිකන් මට හරි කම්මැලි නිකන් ඔය තියෙනවා නිකන් nothing is moving in it. Mechanical engineers need moving things. Moving things. But then of course I moved to Washington DC, thinking I can do a little bit of economics and public policy. Etanidi, of course, I got interested in electric vehicles because I had a front row seat to see how the US government is pushing for electric vehicles and electric transportation as an alternative to, very dirty source of transportation that we all are dependent on. That I got very interested. You could say I was one of the early people to get into the area of electric vehicles, but also now electric vehicles is one thing, but electric vehicles වලට support කරන්න infrastructure is a whole other thing, which is my area.
ඒ කියන්නේ charging networks, නැත්තම් supply chains ඒ පැත්තෙන්.
Charging networks. Supply chains
Okay.
is a whole other issue, but I work on charging networks. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් normal transport network එක ගත්තත් ඒකේ gas stations, petrol stations ලංකාවේ විදියට you need to have full infrastructure distributed across the country. But of course, other than that, when you if it's just petroleum, you have drilling, shipping. ඔය ලංකාවට තෙල් නැව වෙනකම් බලන් ඉන්න කට්ටිය කාලෙන් කාලෙට මතකයිනේ.
Good memory. So
Good old days.
Good old days. ඒ වගේම තමයි I think charging infrastructure it's just like for energy on it. Transportation requires a lot of energy. To make that happen, you need a lot of infrastructure distributed across places. ඒ කියන්නේ කොළඹ ඉඳන් charge කරලා අනුරාධපුරයට ගියොත් අනුරාධපුරෙන් දැන් ආයේ කොළඹට එන්න එහෙත් charge එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ.
Right.
simply put,
Yeah, and wasn't it like a big deal recently? I think it was last year or year before, where there was this big argument, or not an argument, like standardization about the charging ports, and then finally Tesla's charging standard won out. Something like that. Is that something?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. So what happens is charging ports වර්ග කීපයක් තියෙනවා. Now the Japanese originally came up with what is called CHAdeMO. CHAdeMO කියන එක හරි ඒක acronyms හරි interesting. CHAdeMO, Japanese but Toyota වගේ scene but of course CHAdeMO is going out of fashion right now. There was the European standard which the Germans invented. That's called CCS. American කට්ටිය හොයාගත්ත standard එක තමයි Tesla standard එක කියන්නේ NACS. They are calling it NACS. That's called North American Charging Standard. I think now the Tesla connector is just the physical design. It's the plastic. දලා ඔය පිල් ටිකක් තියෙනවා. ඔය design එකට තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ Tesla connector එක කියලා කියන්නේ. Tesla charger is one thing, but it's the connector that මෙතනින් ගැහුවම Tesla car එකේ ඇතුළට අර current එක set වෙන ports වලට වහින කෑල්ලට තමයි ඔය connector එක කියලා කියන්නේ. So it's just
it's
a
like,
design.
It's like USB-C.
Exactly.
It's just a connector, but you don't know what's inside it. It could be Thunderbolt, it could be USB, it could be USB 2, anything. So it's a physical connector.
it's a physical connector.
එතකොට ස්පෙක් එක ටෙස්ලා කනෙක්ටර් කියලා අපි කියන්නේ ෆිසිකල් ඩිසයින් එකට. So the protocol how it communicates fast charging ඒවා වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙමද?
ඒ වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. So ඔතන now when this war of charging connectors, where I mean CCS was becoming the standard and Tesla kind of ruined all the glory for CCS. Where now the connector is just the physical design, but ithaniන් එහාට රජිත කියවා වගේ all the communication standards, the protocols, the interpretations are different. It's something else. So right now there's a big effort to standardize all that, even for Teslas. මොකද Tesla වල තියෙන්නේ end to end, they have their own charging stations, they have their own vehicles, they have their own network. So not just the network charging stations, they have their own cloud network. Yokkama communication තියෙන හින්දා they can operate on their own. They have user information, they have charger information. එතකොට match කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේ විශ්ව ගිහිල්ලා Tesla charge එකට කියලා plug කරපු ගමන් මේ ආවේ විශ්ව කියලා ඌ දන්නවා. Either they can match through GPS, some other means.
I can think of another company like that. Apple.
Apple, of course.
Yeah, it's called the walled garden. So Tesla built a walled garden around their ecosystem. So go on.
It is. It's called the walled garden because number one, other people don't have access to it, but also we also don't know how it functions. That's why it's called the walled garden.
And also, it's very nice when you're inside. It's a beautiful garden, but there's a wall outside. You can never leave it. Other people can't get inside and you can never leave it. It's a kind of a dystopian thought, but it is the reality if you think about it.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Somebody has to build a garden. I mean, Tesla is ahead of everyone else.
I mean, if you put the effort to, landscape it and grow all the trees and the ponds and the fishes, you might as well, get some return on your investment, I guess.
You can't blame Tesla for doing that way. I mean,
it's just business. It's the regulator's job to make sure that people don't get screwed over.
Yeah, true.
I think so. The Tesla. So, ඔයාගේ දැන් port එක විතරයි නම් standardize උනේ. Can I take any car with a Tesla port and plug it into a Tesla supercharger network? Would it work or would it not work? If the connector is matching,
so
will it explode my car?
No, it will not do anything like that. But you're right, there were announcement where the three big US car manufacturers, GM, Stellantis and Ford came to an agreement with Tesla. So you can ඒගොල්ලෝ යම්කිසි ගාණක් ගෙවනවා for access to the network, and whereby some of the new GM ලගෙන් Ford ලගෙන් අලුත් වාහන Tesla connect එකට හදලා but එතකන් Tesla is giving you like an adapter. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ දැනට තියෙන CCS connect එකනේ. ඒකට අර USB-C එක පරණ USB එකට ගහනවා වගේ පොඩි adapter එකක් දෙනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට පාවිච්චි කරන්න. But that means they have access. If your mother company has already made a deal with Elon Musk.
Wow.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, but I bet you still wouldn't get like the full power. They'll give you like like a 60 watt power delivery තියෙන එකට නිකන් ගහපුවාම නිකන් අර 5 watts වලින් charge කරනවා වගේ it'll probably charge in a very slow rate and like make you want to buy a Tesla. I'm pretty sure that's how they did it. Yeah.
So yes, it's a I mean, so this is actually my research. What I'm working on is charging station reliability, and an important aspect is charging speed එක කියන එක. මොකද charging station එක advertise කරනවා මට මේ speed එකට යන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. So if it's 150 kilowatt then certain Teslas go up to, I don't know, 250, 200, 300 kilowatt speed there, which is a lot of power. But the problem is there's a limitation from the vehicle side. සමහරවා මෙහෙන් charging station එකට කොච්චර පුළුවන් වුණත් vehicle එකට speed එක absorb කිරීමේ speed එකක් තියෙනවා, maximum speed එක. The vehicle should be able to absorb that.
Yeah, so that depends on the battery controllers and the battery itself, I guess, right? Like කොහොමද ඒක process කරන්න කියන එක. Which makes sense, right? So it's kind of it is true the fact that Tesla charging and Tesla like vehicles in general are technologically far ahead of the competition, right? Like, is it because of the walled garden effects? Like they didn't have to like play by anybody else's rules? Like ekadaruge ara anti-regulation argument like
I think so, but in the American business environment, generally there's at least companies sort of don't want to be regulated or standardized, which is hindering a lot of progress right now in some aspects. But Tesla is like Apple. They're like market leaders.
yeah,
They
don't care.
They don't care. I mean, as long as Tesla වල say again ඔක්කොම ඇමරිකාවේ දැන් electric vehicle sales ගත්තම Tesla is leading. Tesla has like more than 60% of the share. No, it's more than the majority. Like තුනෙන් දෙකක් විතර මේ ඔක්කොම sales Tesla.
Wow, 60% is that's not even like Apple doesn't even have that much. I don't think. Maybe
Exactly.
in North America maybe they do, but not
Yeah.
globally.
Globally,
No.
BYD is leading, right? BYD overtook Tesla last year, which is interesting because that's a Chinese manufacturer, and even here we see a lot of BYDs.
No way,
Nobody wants
really?
to buy them. Oh
Really?
yeah, they are overtook.
I'm like, that's
Exactly.
a lie. I only see these cars on the internet. I never see it here.
No, dude, even I want to buy one because a lot of people say Chinese internal combustion engine is shit, like nobody wants to buy that. But Chinese electric, they are cheaper than Teslas and work as just as good as a Tesla. But dang, BYD is challenging Tesla on the global scene. Like if they seep into India, if they seep into the Asian countries, වැඩිය මිනිස්සු ජීවත් වෙන ඒ part එක, right? Like that's where most of the people live. So if BYD overtakes Tesla in that side, they'll have the global market, so they'll be able to set standards themselves as well.
I think, yeah, go ahead.
No, the luxury market, like මෙහෙත් මම ගොඩක් කියමු දකිනවා කියන්නේ that I live in rural Australia, right? But still I see more Teslas than BYDs here because that, like, you want to buy an Android because you don't want to spend a lot of money, but if you want to show off to your friends, so you buy an Apple. So effect like I think Tisura can give a better economic perspective on this because I
Yeah.
think
I just want to add like my 2 cents on that. I feel like
Yeah.
Tesla kind of position their cars as like luxury economy cars. Like they never like it's not like a $200,000 car, but it's like a 60K car, which is still like more expensive than a regular old Corolla, right? Because in Canada you could get like a base level Corolla for like $20,000, whereas a Tesla is like Model 3 would be like 40K, 35K. But the perception of people here, I feel like they think electric cars as a luxury, like premium option. But Chinese company, they don't really push it like a premium option. They're like, this is a regular car for like anybody to use and drive. So they price it like that, and when you go inside, it's not like a lot of bells and whistles. It's basic, like cheap shit, but it's functional.
basic.
Yeah. But here it wouldn't sell like that. People would expect a certain level of premiumness when they want to buy a electric car.
Yeah.
So what
do you think about that?
So Rajita and me, because we are in the North American continent again, we are most likely not going to see BYD cars in the near future. Look, look, now it's a trade war going on, especially when it comes to market share and මේගොල්ලෝ සෑහෙන ගහගන්නවා. You know about the bipartisan infrastructure bill, but also Inflation Reduction Act එකත් එක්ක. The name can be very very deceiving. The Inflation Reduction Act එකෙන් මේගොල්ලෝ කරේ America First Manufacturing policy එකක් හදපු එක, and the current administration knows that this is going to be the critical industries in the future: electric vehicles, renewables, critical minerals, chips. Yes, thanks for reminding. So egollo, they are making sure that America and its allies have superiority, dominance in the manufacturing of these sectors. Egahinda China BYD වලට කිසිම access එකක් නැහැ.
Basically both political parties in America, basically the entire continent is becoming very protectionist. It's usually like Democrats it's usually like globalization. They like to open like trade and all that stuff, but it has gotten to a point where China cannot be ignored. It's an existential threat level. Like they cannot be allowed to, like Americans, like, because obviously like America, if there's a cheap vehicle, people will buy it. I don't think people would really give two shits about where it's coming from.
Yeah, it happened in the 70s, right? When the fuel prices went up, they started buying Toyotas, even though they were with war for them for like so many years. They nuked them, but they still bought Toyotas because they were cheap on gas, because everybody wants to save $1 here and there, right? So,
So I feel like that's what's going on. So America, then අපි හැමදෙස්සම news වල බලද්දි එහෙම කියන්නේ China did this, China kicked out, stole our intellectual property, this, and China bad. This is kind of a similar move where like we know China has a superior product, but we don't want it. You can keep it. We don't want to rely on your transportation, your infrastructure. ඊට පස්සේ මොනවද වෙන්නේ? ඊට පස්සේ ඇවිල්ලා අපි එහා පැත්තේ දෙට ඇවිල්ලා අපි මුළු neighborhood එකම overtake කරලා, you know, this and that. That's the mindset.
But that's the thing. But it's okay for Tesla to do that because it's an American company.
Oh yes, yeah. It's okay for Google to do that. It's okay for Apple to do that. It's okay for Microsoft to do that. But if ByteDance does it, no, that's bad. That is a problem. If TikTok does it, it's a problem. Yeah, it's a big issue. But I don't know. There's no winner. Everybody loses at the end. So I don't know what to think about it.
This goes into the heart of international trade and economics, and a little bit into rules, of course. Okay, think hari ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි ඉතින් මේ ලොකු කතාවක් ඔක මෙතන දිගාරනවා.
Yeah. But speaking of Chinese car manufacturing, I read somewhere that I don't know if it's just BYD itself or like just all manufacturing that happens in China, but they are responsible for consuming like 70% of like cobalt mined in the world or something like that. Like sand minerals import karna kala.
So China, it seems like China already have control over a lot of the critical minerals like cobalt, lithium.
Yeah.
They have a lot of supply chains. Again, ownership and supply chains control karanne egollo. Now, I'm not an expert on supply chains, but it's a big issue right now because at least American government thinks that America also needs a bigger share of the pie. So හදිසියම දැන් හදිසියම සිංහලෙන් කියන්න ඕනේ තේරෙන්නේ නැති වෙන්නේ. හදිසියම හදිසියම පෙරදා ඇමරිකාවේ මම දැක්කා නිකන් ඇමරිකාවේ ස්ටේට් ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට් එක බැලුවාම හදිසියම මෙන්න මේ කවදාවත් උනන්දුවක් දක්වපු නැති රටවල් ටිකක් එක්ක හදිසියම නිකන් ආනේ අපි යාළුවෝ කියලා නිකන් ට්‍රේඩ් ඇග්‍රීමන්ට් ගහලා දෙනවා. බලන්න ගියාම උන් ඔක්කොගෙම අර ක්‍රිටිකල් මිනරල්ස් තියෙන රටවල් ටිකක් හදිසියම.
තියෙන රටවල්.
ඉතින් ඒ වල සප්ලයි
අර මේ කට්ටිය කියන්නේ අර ලංකාවේ තෙල් තිබ්බනම් අපිට මේ වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ බ්‍රෝ වගේ කතා යන්නේ මේ. In fact, Sri Lanka does have rare minerals. Sri Lanka has graphite. I don't know if it's technically a rare mineral, but Sri Lanka is one of the graphite-rich countries in the world.
So, yes, sure. Sri Lanka has graphite, but it's not the graphite. Kiyama diamantit තියෙනවා. The crystalline structure formation is important.
Graphite veins, right?
Yeah, so Sri Lanka wala තියෙන graphite එක not the rare type blue. ගොඩක් කට්ටිය අංකල් හාලෙන් කාට වෙන්න ලංකාවේ ග්‍රැෆීන් තියෙනවා අරකයි මේකයි ඉලෙක්ට්‍රික් වෙහිකල් වල බැටරි හදමු කියලා කයි වාරු ගහගෙන යනවා. ඒ කල්දරයක් කනේ. but they don't do that research. It's a different type of graphene.
තිසුර පොඩ්ඩක් බලන්නකො තිසුර අර graphite තියෙනවා තිසුර මොකද කරන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ තිසුර මේක හදන්න.
මේගොල්ලෝ ගිහලා එම්බසි වලට යනවා රටවල් යනවා ඩොරි ටෝක් දෙනවා හරියට රිසර්ච් එක කරන්න. But would have been nice if we had the right type of graphite and graphene. Again, I'm not an expert. But මගේ ඉගෙන ස්ටඩි කරන යාළුවෙක් කිව්වා ඒක වෙනස් එකක් කියලා.
තිබ්බත් වැඩක් නෑ මං I'm just like kind of derailing the conversation, but අර තිබ්බනම් අපි ගොඩ යනවා කියලා හිතන තෙල් තිබ්බනම් ගොඩ යනවා මේ වගේ තිබ්බට ගොඩ යන්නේ නෑ. Like look at Congo. It's one of the world's like mineral rich countries and it's a shit hole. because
exactly
they are cursed by their richness.
exactly
or neo
Yeah.
colonialism like
I mean, yes.
අපේ නෑනේ ලංකාවේ ෆ්‍රේම්වර්ක් එකක් ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් තෙල් තිබුණත් හිතමු ලංකාවේ ලෝකෙ හොඳම තෙල් නිදියක් ලංකාවේ තියෙනවා කියලා ඒකට ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් කරන්න බිලියන ගාණක් යනවා ඒක ඩ්‍රිල් කරලා ඒකට ඉන්ෆ්‍රාස්ට්‍රක්චර් එකක් හදන්න ඒකට අවශ්‍ය මිනිස්සු ගෙන්නන්න ඕනේ ඒකට අවශ්‍ය සප්ලයි චේන්ස්
Technology.
ෆැසිලිටීස් හදන්න it takes a lot of energy අපේ කට්ටිය නෑ තෙල් අයිති ලංකාවට අත්තට යන්න එපා කියලා ඕක උඩ ඉඳගෙන හිඳි විතරක් රකින්නවා වගේ අර I think nothing gets
Yeah.
invested. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine if people want to do that. That's right. ඒක කරගෙන ඉන්න දැන් ඒක.
I think it's a careful balance, right? It's because then just because you want foreign investment doesn't mean you have to lose your sovereignty, right? Like we have a history
That's
of like bringing foreign investment and losing our sovereignty. You know, like there's
That's
so
true.
like
Yeah.
multiple ports that we've lost, airports.
The problem, though, now of course, this is a different conversation. But the problem
Yeah,
is,
yeah. I know. I said I was
foreign
derailing
is,
us.
the foreign investment කියලා ලංකාවේ කරලා තියෙන්නේ කවුරු ඉන්වෙස්ට් කෙනෙක් අදගෙන we give them tax breaks, we give them everything, regulate කරන්නේ නැනේ. And now the government has a role in regulating, even if දැන් හිතන්න for example this is a big discussion right now ලංකාවේ petroleum corporation හරි CB එක විකුණුවොත් මිනිස්සු හිතනවා හරි now whoever buys it is gonna control the මේ entire electricity system කියලා but එහෙම හිතන්නේ මොකද ලංකාවේ government එකේ role එක තේරුම් ගන්න නැහැ they don't know government has sovereignty whoever owns the company they regulate it you have to follow the rules එහෙම නැත්නම් you enforce the rules
People are traumatized in Sri Lanka because of corruption. I think they experience corruption from the bottom to top. They assume that that's how everything will operate. So they don't have faith in the system. So they are very like super scared. I feel like. මොකද උන්ට ෂුවර් නෑ ඕක කොහොම යයිද කියන එක. නමුත් ඒක I don't think it's a valid argument, right? ඔයා කිව්වා වගේ බිත්තරේ රකලා වැඩක් නෑනේ. Like you have to make use of it. Sometimes you kind of have to roll the dice and see what happens. But you have to be very careful on what you're betting. I think that's the part that we haven't figured out yet clearly.
Exactly. We also don't know what's the role of the government. Then අපේ ලංකාවේ either usually traditionally there are two parties නේ එක පාර්ටි එකක් එනවා බණ්ඩාරනායක පාර්ටි එක okay state control of everything කඩදාසි මුද්‍රණය කරන එකත් ආණ්ඩුවෙන් ඒක කරන්නේ මොකක් හරි කර්මාන්ත ශාලාවක් ආණ්ඩුවෙන් දානවා ඒක එක extreme එක
Lanka, Vane, Sini, I mean, you talk to our parents, they tell these stories. Like, api wama okkoma haduwe atta ganan wala it went away because they opened the free market.
Sirada. No, anith extreme එක අනිත් පැත්ත. Government does absolutely nothing. No regulation, no directions. කිසිම advice එකක් නැතුව we sell them off to JR ගේ මාමටයි පුතාටයි බයනටයි ඔය කට්ටිය. Now that's the other extreme.
Yeah.
You know how this is. But the problem is now, according to when I was in Washington DC, in supposedly the most free market liberal economy in the world, I saw very clearly the role of the government. ඒගොල්ලෝ a roadmap pack electric. This was in 2017. Electric vehicles and this is our goal. We are going to electrify our transportation system. This is an early sector. We don't have a lot of industries. We don't have a lot of actors. So we as the government, we are going to set a roadmap. Make a roadmap. Now, ඊට පස්සේ ඒගොල්ලෝ roadmap එකක් හදන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ තනියම roadmap එකක් හදන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකට අවශ්‍ය stakeholders ලා ගෙනනවා. electric vehicles ඕනනාම electric utilities ඕනනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ CB එක වගේ electric company ඕනනවා. electric කට්ටිය ගෙනනවා. වරෙන් වාඩි වෙන්න කියලා. හරිද? ඊට පස්සේ car manufacturers ගෙනනවා. ඔබත් වරෙන්. එතන වාඩි වෙන්න. හරිද? The government can do that. The government can push people around. The government එක කතා කරාම කවුරුත් එන්න තු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. All these companies want a seat at the table. And therefore other stakeholders, universities, researchers,
is profitable.
Yeah.
Governments are very profitable to work with. Yeah.
That's a different story, of course. But I'm talking about the the regulation and roadmap. Like you have to get all the stakeholders in one room. University researchers come and sit down. That's
the important part.
Yeah. Because these are countries that have a history of developing new technology and creating markets and supporting that ne
Yeah.
mama extra department of I'm not gonna say the name but එක government agency එකකට ගියා මේ Washington DC වල ඒකේ elevator එක මේගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ American වලින් කියන්නේ elevator කියන්නේ lift එක ලංකාවේ භාෂාවෙන් කියනවා
ඔව්.
ඒ පරණ 80 දශකේ ඉඳන් ආපු lift තියෙනවා ඒ lift එක ගිහිල්ලා හරියට නවතින්නේ නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ හරි level එකේ නවතින්නේ නැහැ. නිකන් අඟල් කීපයක් විතර පොඩි වෙනසක් වෙනවා පඩියක් වගේ පැනලා යන්න ඕනේ. හරිද? එතන ලංකාවේ මිනිස්සු අයියෝ ඇමරිකාවේ ඔයගලන්ට හරියට වැඩ කරන lift එක මුල්ල ලංකාවේ කවදාවත් එහෙම lift එකක් මම දැකලා නැහැ. මොකද අපි ලංකාරනකට අපි we buy the technology from someone else and it's perfected by the time it comes to us and everything works fine but these are economies that laid around and develop the technologies so you have government contracts that give companies the room to develop the technology and even buy suboptimal products
මොකක් දන්නද මචං වෙලා තියන්නේ මේ එලවේට එක හදපු එක අඟල් වලින් මැනලා දොර හදපු එක සෙන්ටිමීටර් වලින් මැනලා තියෙන ඒක
Classic. So
I was joking I have no idea
no.
but I hear what you're saying මේ ඒ අර ටෙක්නොලොජි එකක් හදලා නැති කම නිසා තමයි we don't know where to even begin right like that's the challenge like these like countries like the States they are very forgiving to like think for example look at how much they funded like NASA back in the day and even like these days SpaceX spend billions of dollars and they don't really like they don't care if first few rockets explode because they know it's part of the process දැන් හිතපන් ඔය වගේ දැන් ලංකාවේ කරොත් අම්මෝ අන්න ඊලන්ත මස්කයා අන්න අපේ සල්ලි නාස්ති කරනවා tax payer dollars කියලා එන ආවුවත් දාලා කම්පැනි එක අහලා hunger strike ගිහිල්ලා ප්‍රශ්න ගොඩයි
ඒක වෙන්නේ මචං ඔබ හිතන්නේ because they've seen victory in their country like අපි දැකලා තියෙන්නේ like we won one war so far like that's also a civil war but America have
we need that one is in quotes
one in quotes like that's very questionable
yeah
let's not open that can of worms but
yeah not this
like,
episode at least
they have more faith in their country than we do like Tisura you have like experience like ඔබ ඉඳලා තියෙනවා ඒ රටේ දැකලා තියෙනවා මෙහෙමයි වෙන්නේ so you have faith in the system right දැන් අපේ කවදාවත් ඔයගොල්ලෝ හිතනවාද මිනිස්සු කියයි එහෙන electric like that table meeting will never happen in Sri Lanka
that's true නෑ ඒ කියන්නේ I have more faith in the system මං දන්නේ government එක ගැන කියන්න ගියොත් මෙතන ලංකාව කට්ටිය රෙද්දසන්නේ but let me tell you an example about my university okay now my university ke mama once I'm a PhD student I'm also an employee mama කවදාවත් පස්සෙන් ගිහිල්ලා I don't have to worry about මට හම්බ වෙන දෙයක් හරි මට fellowship එකක් හරි what not මම එතන ගිහිල්ලා විශේෂයෙන් කයිය ගහලා යාළුවෝ නැත්තම් මට ඒක හම්බ වෙන එකක් නැහැ කියලා මං කවදාවත් බය නැහැ මොකද අපේ coordinator කෙනෙක් ඉන්න එක job එකක් අවශ්‍ය කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා මට ඒකන් මට අදාළ දේවල් අනිවාර්යෙන්ම I am included in that I'm included in meetings I'm included in the process කවදාවත් කැපිල්ල නැහැ and it's very transparent I like that about it සමහරවිට මගේ grad coordinator මට සෑහෙන දේවල් අමතක වෙලා තියෙනවා but she's very good with it ඒගොල්ලෝ Tisura you apply for this කියලා දාලා ඒගොල්ලෝ අපි වෙනුවෙන් අපිට සාධාරණ ඒ කියන්නේ even though we are foreigners
yeah if I rephrase it like I think I was an immigrant as well like before I became a citizen I was basically an immigrant like I had a conditional residence and all that stuff but there were people who were paid by the government to take care of me their sole job is to make sure that I'm doing okay and I was like damn like maybe that's my mom
crazy, right?
maybe my mother took care of me this way like nobody else gave a shit like this like this like they would go above and beyond because they think that's their job and they take their job seriously too and ඒ වගේ කට්ටිය ඉන්නවා හැම layer එකේම high school එකේ ගියොත් counselors ලා ඒ පැත්තෙන් ළමයින්ව බලා ගන්න තමයි job එක university ගියොත් advisors ලා එහෙම ඉන්නවා even when you go to work there are like not people from the company itself but there are independent third parties that your company has to at least in Canada I don't know about the States they are required to hire a third party ombudsman basically dugannarakala if you have a problem with your employee you go and you talk to them and they will take care of it because you know you should never talk to HR because HR's job is to protect the company, not you. Anyway,
of course. The ලංකාවේ එහෙම situation එකක්
cool.
I mean unless you have a boss or someone who really thinks highly of you or thinks good of you එහෙම නැත්තම් ඒ කියන්නේ මට එහෙම boss කෙනෙක් ඉඳලා තියෙනවා එක කාලයක් I mean he was really good he thought I was මොකක් හරි talent එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා දැක්කා ඒක නිසා එහෙම but majority
මේකනේ එතකොට එයාට incentive එකක් තියෙනවානේ like my point is that there are people who has nothing to gain from me they just do it because they think that's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the system because they all act because it's the right thing to do. And
Exactly.
fairness principle එක මත ගොඩක් වැඩ කරනවා. මේ එක example එකක් දෙන්න. මේ ලංකාවේ after A levels මම ගියා මේ this international physics olympiad competition like for high school.
Yeah.
Now I got a international medal. තර මේ ඊට ඒ අවුරුද්දෙම මම බලනවා අපට සිරේ අපේ මේ ඉස්කෝලේ prize giving එකේ හරිද හදිස්සියම I don't know why they're giving prizes again but when somebody is getting a prize for something they won at the national level completely forgetting that there's somebody else who won the international thing කියලා හරිද
Yeah.
එහෙම ආතල් ගොඩක් තියෙනවා
You wanna bet the guy who won the local one is probably a friend of someone?
Yeah. He was organizing the prize giving and whatnot.
Now I don't think we should do our podcast just shitting on Sri Lanka. But
No, we are not shitting on Sri Lanka. We're just telling as it is. Like,
exactly. I was just gonna say,
like this
it's
is just
facts.
Yeah, facts.
But at the same time, I think then ඔය topic එක කතා වෙන හැම සැරේම දැන් අපි තුන් දෙනාම ඉන්නේ වෙන රටකනේ. So it's easy for us to shit on Sri Lanka because we don't really feel it, right?
Yeah.
But දැන් අපේ podcast එක අහන අයකින් බහුතරයක් ඉන්නේ ලංකාවේ.
95.
එතකොට දැන් ඕගොල්ලෝ මේක අහන් ඉද්දී ඔයගොල්ලන්ට හිතෙන නැති shit like it's very depressing, right? But the thing is their country is not condemned. People can change. But the change has to start at the individual level. Because the issue is with the culture itself, right? It's the mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Machan, don't you think you have to mimic somebody to change? Like we can't come with change within. We have to look at, oh look, Canada is doing this. Oh look, USA is doing this. And then we have to change. So that's what we are trying to propagate through the podcast. Like, we are discussing different situations in different countries.
Yeah, because we have been exposed to that. Like, අපි රටවල් තුනක systems දැකලා තියෙනවා individually. But we all have like shared experiences despite living in 3 different like countries.
And all three countries are colonies. These started as colonies. These were like, we are like, when I was doing wishlist, remember Tisura, like my thing was we are colonial millennials. Our story is completely different from everyone else in this bloody world because our grandparents went through colonialism, our parents went through transition, we lived through a civil war, and now it's our turn. Like, we have to blow them out of the competition and take over. It's not that difficult. Because අපිට ඇති වෙන්න examples තියෙනවා ලෝකේ. අපි ඇති වෙන්න companies දැකලා තියෙනවා ලෝකෙ වෙනස් කරන. So it's our duty almost to change it.
Yeah. Like, and it starts with the individual, right?
Yeah.
Starts with the individual. I agree.
Yeah. So the reality is that job එකට ගියොත් you are going to experience this bullshit that's happening around you, right? And you are going to be a victim of it. But what you can do is you can try to not propagate it. So the next person, the next intern that joins your company will be shielded from it. He or she doesn't have to experience it. And that's how change starts because that person will see, okay, dude, my boss didn't do that. Whereas like all other bosses like did all these favorizations and other random things.
Yeah.
So
cycle breaker, right?
There's a theory in international development. Akamoglu and Robinson two MIT economists. එයා කියනවා අපි ඉන්න රටවල් so අමරිකාව, කැනඩාව, ඔස්ට්‍රේලියාව had horizontal institutions. ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩක් මේ රටවලට I mean now I'm not going into the history of these countries. There's a lot of problems with that.
Genocide.
Genocide.
But
put a rainbow. Genocide.
but of course ඒක ආපු කට්ටිය සුදුනං උන්ට ෆ්ලට් සයිට ගත්තෙකුණ එකන්නේ එකක් කැයිල තව එකාට සර් කියන්න නැවෙන්න යන්න සුද්දයාකෝල් හොරිසෝන්ටල් ඉන්ස්ටිටියෂන්ස් එයා ගොඩක් මොකක්දකට කියන්න අර උස්තැන් මිටිතැන් එහෙම නැති සයිටයක් වැරස් අපේ වගේ රටවල කලෝනියල් ඉන්ස්ටිටියෂන්ස් ඩෙවලප් වුණේ එන්න සුදු මහත්තයට සර් කියන්න ඒ වගේ අමුතු මොකදකරෙන් වර්ටිකල් ඉන්ස්ටිටියෂන් පැරන්ටලි classist or race මොක්කම තියෙන I think his theory is that ඒ රටවල් වෙන් කරාම you see a lot of human capital and productivity in the former countries අර flat societies තියෙන රටවල් දැන් මෙහෙ ඇවිල්ලා මම දන්නේ එංගලන්තේ කොහොමද ලබද ඇමරිකාවේ ගත්තොත් අපේ හිටමු මෙහෙ කැලිෆෝනියාවේ ගවර්නර් පාරේ යනවා නම් කියලා අවන්ගේ ලලෝ ගවන කොහොමද කියලා මූට දෙකට තුනට නැවෙන්න යන්න මේ ඔලු පාත් කරන්න යන්න ඌ මතත් හලෝ කොහොමද කියලා නිකන් සාමාන්‍ය මිනිස්සෙක්ට වගේ අත දීලා ඌ යයි මෙහෙ ගඩක් බලන්න මෙතන ප්‍රෙසිඩන්ට් කියත් එහෙම තමයි මේ අලෝ කියලා අපි දෙන්නම නිකන් අපි දෙන්නම එක කලවල
ඒක
ජොබ් එකක් තියෙනවා මගේ වෙන ජොබ් එකක් තියෙනවා ඉතරයි ලංකාවෙන් බෑනේ
අපි ඉන්න රටවල මාස්ටර් සර් සින්දුව නෑ ඒක ලංකාවේ විතරයි තියෙන්නේ ඒක වෙලා තියෙන්නේ that's the only way to put it like you know like දැන් මම මෙහෙ ඇවිල්ලා මුලින්ම සුදු බොස් කෙනෙක් හම්බුනා මම මාර බයි ඔව් මම කරන්න පස්සේ මට තේරුණා මම මෙහෙ ඒ ඩාන්ස් එක කරන්න ඕනේ නෑ මට ඩිරෙක්ට්ලි කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් බොස්ට කෙලින් කියන්න පුළුවන් මේකයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියලා අර දැන් අපේ කෝපරේට් කල්චර් එකේ ගොඩක් කම්පැනිස් try කරනවා මේ අයියා අක්කා කියන එක නවත්තන්න but it's impossible it's ingrained into our culture to talk to people with their title. I think
dude I saw this video that went viral recently like few years ago. Australian Prime Minister was giving they were trying to open like makari construction එක පටන් අරගෙන ඌ ස්පීච් එකක් දෙනවා හරිද ඌ ස්පීච් එක දෙන්න පාර ආයිනේ ඌගේ අර මේ ඔක්කොම පත්තරකාරයෝ සෙට් එක මේ ඉන්න පේමන්ට් එකේ මිනිහෙක්ගේ මේ ගෙදරක ප්‍රොපර්ටි එකක් වත්තවන්න හරි like this is the fucking prime minister of Australia okay the fucking homeowner who එලියට ඇවිල්ලා is like what are you guys doing in my lawn get out of my property
exactly.
the prime minister and the prime minister is like sorry
prime minister says sorry he says sorry such a moment in like Australian media because people can say no to the prime minister.
Yeah, get out of my lawn. He just literally what he says, and the prime minister like, guys, leave him alone. Like, let's move to the street. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Then හිතපන් ඕක දැන් ඉන්දියාවේ හරි ලංකාවේ හරි වුණා නම් මනිත් දවසේදී අරුගේ ගේ ගිනි තියලා.
Oh, exactly. now this is I'm saying this is important for අපේ topic එක today. Even electric vehicles got that, transportation got that. අපි දැන් කතා කරන්නේ multidisciplinary sectors ගොඩක් නේ. ඒ sectors අතර collaboration නැතුව if they are not working together in good faith it's very hard to develop new industries, new businesses and new growth මේකයි ප්‍රශ්නේ. I mean I am working in infrastructure systems where these are codependent infrastructure. Electric vehicle charging station got that, it's dependent on I mean basically it's dependent on the electricity grid and the supply of the grid, so these people have to work with the grid operators together. අපේ ලංකාවේ කට්ටිය දෙනවා PUCS ළඟ CB එක ගහගන්න හරි ෂෝ ගහගත්ත තමයි වැඩේ වෙනවා but the other aspect of it also ඒ කියන්නේ regulators and the public are working together and regulators and utilities are working together, regulators and universities are working together. Like it's a collaborative ecosystem that fosters innovation but also fosters problem solving. Again ඒක හරිම වැදගත් ඒ culture එකට if you want to develop any kind of infrastructure I'm just not just talking about physical infrastructure. This is human infrastructure, economic infrastructure හැම දෙයකටම. This is a key to building anything and as the world becomes more complex again electric vehicles කියන එක complex normal vehicles වලට වඩා that's one of the challenge of electrification. There's a lot of signals, a lot of incentives that go into this making this right and we are in the process of getting the incentives, the actors, the incentives right, but it's very important to have complex infrastructure who are working together. to work together I can infrastructure systems කට වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ ගොඩාරයක්. And even in the construction of these things, if you want to build like a massive network of charging stations across the United States, now you are having top to bottom state and local institutions working together. And permitting agencies, you know, they can city එකට ගියොත් city එකේ නගර සභාව වගේ කට්ටිය ඒක permit කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒකට grid එක අරන් දෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒකට contractors and all of these needs to be seamlessly working together. ලංකාවගේ අවුරුදු 7ක් යනවා නම් permit එක ගන්න plan එක pass කරන්න. That's going to be a big problem. You can't have bottlenecks.
I think it's like that streamlining has again the fact that the federal system has a lot of influence, because like otana venni godak kalawata then it's not as seamless. There's always going to be people pushing back, but at the end of the day the federal government basically, like at least in Canada, you know, it's like it's all about deal making. So then Canada වල ලොකු හාහුවක් යනවා මේ carbon tax එක ගැන. So in Canada they introduced this tax called carbon tax, where මේ it's one of the most effective ways to control CO2 emissions. Basically ඔයාගේ emissions වැඩි නම් you get taxed. If you and then you get a refund at the end of the year, but the refund is the an average amount. So අඩුවෙන් average එකට අඩුවෙන් use කරලා තියෙනවා නම් you actually make money. If you use more, then you lose money. So it's kind of like a very creative way to incentivize it. නමුත් ඕකට සෑහෙන ප්‍රශ්න ආවා. මොකද like it's a tax once first of all, so people generally hate being taxed. But the way the government pushed through it is like they made deals like, okay, we federally fund you, like අපි ඔයාට අවුරුද්දට දෙනවා මේ province එකට this many $1 billion. You know, we'll give you a little bit more if you allow the tax to be enacted in your province. So that kind of negotiation and conversation happens all the way down, and it allows the right thing to get done eventually. And it's more efficient, and I feel like the lack of that institutional power in Sri Lanka is probably what's causing all these problems, because some people are just non-negotiable. Pulan deyak karapa, you know. Usually I mean there are issues that end up like that even in Canada and America, but it's very rare. Because everyone's aligned.
The institutional power is there. කියන්නේ හැමදාම පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ අලුත් නීතියක් පාස් කරනවා. There's more power needed. I don't think it's a lack of power. It's just unwillingness to work together.
Yeah, 100% I agree. Because there are certain things where you like, if there's a right interest, if the PM's son owns the I don't know, the fucking farm that produces the rice, then suddenly rice imports get stopped, and this and that happens, and like things suddenly happen. It's the willingness issue.
They're not incentivizing the right thing. They're just incentivizing what's good for them.
Exactly. So once again, our nepotism, selfish thinking, favorations, that kind of like it's infesting the whole system from top to bottom. And so that's kind of sad.
Anyway, where is the discussion going?
We kind of
we are all over the place. I'll bring it back on track. Tisura, where do you think Sri Lanka is going with EV, like EV vehicles? Like how are we? What is our infrastructure? When are we getting supercharging positions and like spots and all that stuff? Where are we on that one, as you fast know?
Okay, so let me give like a broad as possible answer.
Broad strokes. Of course, that's fine.
Of course. Now, Lankavata, it makes a lot of sense to electrify right now. Again, මම ඒ කාලේ මේ 2019 මම පොඩි calculation එකක් කරා, back of the envelope පොඩි calculation එකක් කළා. I made a presentation for the ADB headquarters in Manila. Now they were very interested in. I was just doing like a cost benefit analysis. You have a petrol car and you have an electric car. If petrol car එක මම හෙට electric car එකේ replace කරොත් හරිද? What's going to be the cost benefit of that change? The electric car එකේ initial cost එක වැඩි petrol car එකකට වඩා, and then you have some grid infrastructure you need to install. අර මේ ඔක්කොම දාලා ඊට පස්සේ මම actual cost එක ගත්තා. මේ CB එක දන්න subsidized electricity rate එක නෙවෙයි, දන්න subsidized නෑ, but ඒ කාලේ actual CB එකට කොච්චර වියදමක් යනවද per unit of electricity මේක වැඩ කරන්න. ඊට පස්සේ per kilometer ඒ cost එක ගණන් හදලා යන යුගනික ගාලා you can easily do this calculation and lifetime එකේ I mean petrol car එකයි electric car එක lifetime එකට කොච්චර 200,000 300,000 kilometers කොච්චර යනවද කියලා calculate කරලා බැලුවම you can easily calculate and show that you will be saving money to the Sri Lankan economy when you switch to an electric car. Same with
that's
buses.
a very ඔය ආගිමට හරිත මම දැකල තිනවා I can't speak like that's the majority opinion but on Facebook whenever EV related news එකක් share වෙද්දී ගොඩක් comment section එකේ දකින්න දෙන්නේ it's a scam, you know, it costs more carbon to make carbon emissions to create an EV car than like a combustion car, so like it's all lies and they are just trying to make money or like what's your take on that argument? Like that's a majority argument I say.
Yeah. So imagine car ka edonakota every kilometer you drive a petrol car and the gasoline car you are emitting this dinosaur view pucha non-stop you're polluting like crazy. Etakota in the manufacturing process the electric vehicle emits a little bit more emissions than manufacturing a gasoline car for sure. But that's like peanuts compared to the actual life cycle emission. They can with the pie chicken with eat what planet give
right off the factory, yes, the EV would have costed more, but the moment you drive the ICE car, all the arguments out. Like I think people get hyper fixated on that like factory cost, and they conveniently ignore the lifetime cost of it. I think that's the issue.
Tisura, how would you convince the general public in Sri Lanka to buy an EV? Like what would you say to them? Like what would you say to them?
What
like,
needs to happen?
Why you need
what needs to happen and what do you need to say?
That's a good question. Do you want to fund oil producers in less than ideal undemocratic countries? Habibi,
Okay.
or do you want to be part of a modern revolution and grow your local industries? I mean, you are not just creating demand for more energy, but that means you can grow your renewable energy percentage ලංකාවේ මොකද ඒ electric vehicles වලින් එන extra demand එක you can make sure that it's coming from renewables with the right policies, number one. Also, this is a great way to grow your domestic industry because the world is moving towards electric vehicles. Now, I'll give you a great example. Vietnam is making an excellent electric car called Winfast. Amazing.
yeah.
Shock neither. I mean, this is for me better than a Tesla. Now Vietnam was very now I am working closely with the America national labs වලටයි මේ figuring out some of the nitty-gritty details of electric vehicle charging. No other country has access to some of the work we do. මෙන්න බරේ හදිස්සියම වියට්නාම් බෝල ටිකක් එනවා government එකෙන් ඇවිල්ලා උන්ට කැවිලා DC වලට බහැලා හරිද වත්සා මම බලුවා ඒ කියන්නේ these guys they have been working on this for a long time. They are not China. ඒගොල්ලන්ට මාර උනන්දුවක් තියෙනවා. They have access. ඒගොල්ලෝ උනන්දුව හින්දා ඒක පාවිච්චි කරලා they are using that as a platform to grow their local industries, domestic industries. Now Winfast car මාර demand එකක් තියෙනවා.
Okay, there's I guess I don't know if it's an alternative theory, but like I've heard something about like the reason why Vietnam suddenly became super industrialized is the fact that Americans are open to funding that and providing the technology and support. And the reason for that is they don't want China to influence Vietnam. They want Vietnam to be a strong player in that continent, in that area.
I'll give you
so there's a lot of
counter argument. Of course, I understand that. I mean, I'm not saying that's not true. No, America wants that with so many other countries. I mean, America during the 1970s and 80s සල්ලි වක් කරා පාකිස්තාන් වලට. උන්ට උමනාවක් තිබුණේ නැහැ ඒකේ වැඩක් ගන්න. Right, there's so many examples. I mean, America did the same with South Korea. They took advantage of it, of course. They did the same with Japan.
I don't think it's sinister, by the way. I'm not implying that it's some evil plot or whatever. I'm just saying that there are external forces that can make or break a country. that is especially a developing country, right?
Exactly.
So it like Vietnam could have told, like it almost did, right? And there was a long war waged in the country because of that. You could have said like, okay, screw you USA, like we are going to do something else, right? But they made the right partnerships, and they made like, we are going back to Sri Lanka. It will be a quick detour, but being situated.
Let's take that detour. I have another question.
Yeah. Like being strategically positioned in the world can be like it's a very powerful hand you can play if you play it nicely.
Yeah.
And I feel like Vietnam is a country that did it. Like Indonesia, Vietnam, like those countries. So
I mean, India is doing
that
that
plus
right now.
having proper domestic infrastructure and government definitely helps. Singapore. Like, there's a lot of countries who kind of came out of their shitty situation and prospered.
I know. Yeah. My question is, we always talk about, even during election promises and all that, we are going to make the next Singapore. I don't think we can be the next Singapore, because Singapore is strategically placed in a whole other kind of way. But we can be the next Vietnam. We could be spending our tax money on CERN, researching particle physics and all that. And like the similarities between Vietnam and Sri Lanka is just unheard of. Like, like this should be our next, like if anybody wants to win the next election, they should be promising we'll be the next Vietnam. They have high inflation, they have rice paddies, they have they have their own culture, they had a war for like so many years. If we can be 10% like Vietnam, I think Sri Lanka would be in a better place. That's just my take, but I would like to hear your opinion on that, Tisura and Rajitha. But I've always had this belief that we can be the next Vietnam because we have so many similarities.
And EV could be the catalyst for that. Like just what he was saying, right? Like it's so strategically ideal for a country like Sri Lanka. Like first of all, like we have the space for manufacture, right? We can develop the expertise. We have graphite, but turns out it's not the right kind. So I was misled on that subject, but but we are in the middle of.
But we can make it work, right?
Yeah.
We can find a way to make it work because we have so much knowledge in Sri Lanka. That's our natural resource.
අපේ උන්ට ඉගෙන ගන්න පුළුවන්.
It's true.
අපේ උන්ට ඉගෙන ගන්න පුළුවන්.
Switzerland makes the best chocolate without having any cocoa beans.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Japan wala primary industry ka vehicle manufacturer. They are like the third or fourth largest economy in the world. They are just making vehicles to other countries.
And tiny country, they don't have a lot of roads. Like like, compared to like a Japanese domestic car and Australian domestic car, they have very low mileage over time. Like an Australian car can drive like really far because it's a tiny, massive as country. So, but Japan is leading. Australia is not, because there's a reason. They are good at what they are doing. They put smart people in the right place. But when it comes to Sri Lanka,
Exactly.
I don't know. We were going to talk about EV. I feel like we're talking about Sri Lanka a lot because I think that's because I feel like we are losing this battle. There's a new battle happening and we are not taking part in it. That's just sad. We have one company, we have Vega, right? Like we've all seen, they make a supercar and all that. But what if we can make like the next Tata Nano, but electric? Like,
ඔය වේග තමයි මම දැක්කේ. වේගවුන් electric 3-wheeler. They made an EV 3-wheeler, which is like perfect for a country like Sri Lanka. Because whenever you go on the road, there's like so many like 2-stroke and like 4-stroke 3-wheels. Like they are so polluting. I don't think they have any emission standard. Nothing. So that's so ideal. They reveal the car. 98% of the comments are like, "This is a scam. Don't buy this."
Yeah.
Like don't do this. It's so negative. So I got so upset seeing that. Like why is the common attitude towards EV so bad in Sri Lanka? Like maybe it's like distrust of the foreigners, but like this is a local company. Like I don't know. I don't know how to solve that. Like I know Tisura calling you like do you want to fund the oil states in the Middle East?
Habibis. I like the word here. Habibis.
But like that's an appeal to fairness, right? Like what you're invoking is an appeal to fairness, and I feel like that doesn't exist in Sri Lanka. That's the unfortunate truth. Like that's kind of what I was saying earlier too, right? Tamonge gameak gahala goda yana ekane. That's like the mindset.
Yeah.
That's
right.
true. We could have been a hub we could have been a hub, and only thing we would have අපිට කරන්න තිබ්බ renewable energy and electric transportation manufacturing and assembling hub එකක් කරා නම් උන ඉන්දියාවටම supply කරන්න තිබුණා. now ඉන්දියාවේ ලොකු drive එකක් තිබුණා solar panels හදලා දේව solar දාගෙන ගියා gigawatt ගණන් වලින් more wanted. They didn't have enough, they had more demand than supply. China was manufacturing all of this. Now India didn't want to directly import from China because politics. We could have been a middleman. We can China come and do a factory.
Yeah.
We could have done electric transportation also. I think, but I kind of wonder we might have missed the bus on that. Now everybody wants to do electric vehicles.
But that's always going to be the next big thing, right?
That's true. But I think
right, yeah,
the mindset needs to be right when the next best thing comes. Otherwise, I mean, it's better to be leading something than as opposed to catching up.
or following it.
When the rest of the world has moved to electric vehicles, we're like, okay, now let's catch up and import some vehicles and import some stuff because we missed the bus altogether.
Yeah, that's the sad part. Like, I feel like whenever there's a change that's happening to positive in Sri Lanka, it's because some countries withholding funds. Like, they are basically saying, like, dude, like, fix your shit and we'll give you this loan, and then we fix our shit just because we want that loan. Like, that's how Sri Lanka progresses. Like, that's how I feel. So innovation is at an all-time low. I don't know. Maybe it's yeah, I don't know. The infrastructure for innovation is not there because no one wants to do it. It's much easier to like borrow money and not feel accountable. But going back to EVs, let's go back to the global stage.
Positive things are happening in the world stage, of course.
So tell us what's up with batteries these days.
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
Okay. This is a subject I am again not an expert on. But of course, battery chemistry is like lithium and anode and cathode, like critical minerals issues. That supply chains are going to be one thing. Battery recycling is going to be another big issue. We need to figure that out. Number 3 is battery wala energy density. එක ගැන ගොඩාක් research කරගෙන යනවා. You know who's doing the most amount of battery research right now?
No.
Who?
China.
Of course. Yay.
I mean, we want to do research on batteries, but then they've been manufacturing batteries for a long time, I guess. Nobody else even knows how to start.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at research papers, battery density, battery battery performance, or innovation, all the scientific literature is coming from China.
China is leading research in a lot of industries. It's not even just batteries. Like in
I mean, can't be jealous of them.
science.
I mean, I'm glad someone is doing this. This needs to happen.
Someone is doing it, exactly.
Someone is doing it. Yeah.
No,
We need to
competition is good.
progress.
Like, why do you think suddenly we are trying? Like, everyone in the world is trying to go to the moon because China is going to the moon, and America is like, hey, we're not gonna get left behind. So then the Artemis program happened. So I think competition is good. Like,
That's
world
true.
got too complacent.
Yeah.
I think competition is great. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm grateful
So,
that this competition is happening.
I saw this Neil deGrasse Tyson clip recently. I don't know, Tisura, your input on it. I know Rajitha loves him. He was taking a couple of projects we've done as humans. So the Great Wall, the pyramids, the Apollo missions and all that. And he was like, my deduction is we go for innovation when there's a war or when we are trying to appease a god or a higher power. So where are we now? So are we considering climate change to be our next higher power, or like are we failing short on that because we can't get our shit together? Like, what is your opinion? Do you think this electrifying will help us in our next step as humans?
I think it's the next step. So governments have a big role, and when who are governments accountable is to us. So to go back to your point, Minisunge, at least there seems to be a big push around climate change. There's a better understanding right now, so that's driving a lot of the government innovation and push on electrification, which I think is a step in the right direction. But of course, there's a lot of other factors in play here. Of course, competition from China is one big factor. Like going to the moon, of course, it's not a bad thing. Competition is a good thing. It's forcing Americans to innovate more, work harder, go the next step. It's good thing.
Related that to like climate change is melting the ice caps right at the top, and suddenly it's opening shipping lanes for Russia, and they could ship things cheaper, and then it's a big deal. Oh no, we must protect it from being melted, we must not allow ships to cross these lines. Oh no, it's because of climate change, not because Russia is opening up new shipping lanes. No. So sorry.
Exactly. We didn't, like, America didn't go to the moon because they wanted to, because they just wanted to beat Russia beat them in so many things. First man on moon, first they like spacecraft on moon, they beat them on a lot of things. But they won the last battle. They were like, we are the first on moon. So if we, like, why can't we just get our shit together and say, are we still that tribal that we need to be like, oh, we are doing it because we want to beat China? Like, why? Like, why is that happening? Like, shouldn't we be more open-minded? It's the right word, I guess. Like, you know, but why aren't we woke about this issue? We are woke about so many issues, like, you know, so many things, but why can't we be woke about this issue? I know I'm asking you a lot, but just like, I would like to know your opinion on this.
No, I think you know, we are naturally tribal, and it's okay as long as it gets the job done. I think it's okay. I mean, historically, this is what has happened. There's a Rajitata and Vishwata, I'll ask you to look this up. There's a memo written by a guy called Vannevar Bush in 1945. He was writing this to the US president. I don't know if it's FDR or Kavara. Now, what happened was, because you referred to world wars and conflict that drives innovation. He was writing this memo. A memo apparently was instrumental in the United States push for supporting STEM කියන්නේ science and technology innovation වලට මාර සල්ලි තෝගයන්නේ මේගොල්ලෝ වක් කරන්නේ. I don't know whether it's the right thing or not. ගෙවල් නැති මිනිස්සු ගොඩක් ඉන්නවා. මේගොල්ලෝ science වලට fund කරනවා. That's their priorities. Good for us.
That's the second podcast, Tisura. Like, you know, it's the next podcast we're going to talk about.
Of course. But එයාගේ argument එක තියෙන්නේ, ඒ කියන්නේ World War II එක කාලේ now America had to increase ramp up their productions. අර රූස් යුද්ධ වගේ ගෑනු ආවා, factories වල වැඩ කරන්න, manufacturing really boomed. ඒතර ඒකත් එක්ක ගොඩාක් innovation එක happen World War II එක කාලේ US economy boom. This memo was about how do we keep that growth going continuously. And එයාගේ idea එක තමයි, we should be funding the sciences and technologies. මේවට research වලට fund කරන්න ඕනේ, and you push that into manufacturing and the marketplace. This is the way forward. And they have never looked back.
To put it in context, I just looked this guy up. He's the founder of Raytheon.
Oh, great. Okay. So if you don't know, Raytheon makes most of the weapons in the world. So
they make a lot of beautiful missiles.
They're a very friendly company. So, yeah.
But I think that's the American mindset, and that's what worked for them, right? I think it makes sense. Then it's the great American experiment, right? That's what they call it, like free markets and like being able to like allowing innovation, fostering innovation. It works, and honestly
it works, and and the other thing is, we can take lessons from it. We don't have to do everything they did. We can find out what worked for them and what didn't work for
මොකද
them.
උනුත් මචං කරන්නේ උන් දන්නෙත් නැහැ නේ ෆියුචර් කොහොමද යන්නේ කියලා. උන් එන විදිහට ගේම ගහලා they decide this is the right thing to do.
That's exactly right. මේගොල්ලන්ගේ මම දැන් ඉතලා අවුරුදු 7ක් මම දැකලා තියෙන කැම. I mean this is the මං දැකලා තියෙන හොඳම දේ මේගොල්ලන්ගේ they don't care ගිය අවුරුද්දේ අපි කරේ වෙන විදියකට නම් we need to do the same thing කියලා හිතන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලෝ හිතනවා I කියන්නේ now of course Sri Lanka is a small country, we don't have the luxury of shaping the world globally in our image, but මේගොල්ලෝ හිතනවා it didn't work last time, so free trade with China didn't work, let's change the rules කියලා හෙට වෙනකොට අලුත් බිල්ලයක් දාලා completely different. So like that mindset is amazing. Like we do what we want. දාලා අපේ interest එක වැඩ කරන්න මොනවද, that's what's happening, and we change the rules or we change the game. That attitude is amazing.
Yeah, but
that's definitely true.
I think how passionate like I was thinking like what drives innovation I think it can be boiled down to like, is this going to prevent me from dying, and is this going to make me richer? Those are the two things that drive innovation. That's I feel like I don't think we live in Star Trek, because like
we as much as we want to Tisura, right, we want to live in Star Trek, but we are still not there, so like we
depends though. There's a classic Czechoslovakian example. Now Czechoslovakia was part of the Soviet Union at the time. This is during the Cold War era. Czechoslovakia, and they didn't have the incentives of profit motives. Apparently මොකක් හරි ඔය මට මතක නැහැ tractor හරි මොකක් හරි farm equipment එක මුන් තමයි ලෝකෙ හොඳම එක හැදුවේ. It's just they had something else, and then it's not profit motive but something else that kept them going.
I think that's communism. It's a very effective way to organize people too, because Soviet Russia had like mad technology back in the day, right? Like they were able to build rockets without like if someone argues like, oh, you need free markets to innovate, no, look at Russia, look at how far they went.
We still use Soyuz, right? We still use Soyuz. So that's there you are, exactly, right? So
it's possible, but it's not sustainable, as history has shown. Like that's how I feel about it.
It's not just free markets, something else is also there, I think.
That's the sad part. Communism is really good on paper, but when you put it into practice,
it doesn't sustain.
Does not work. Does not sustain.
So හැබැයි Tisura game කතා හරි, like just අර වල්බුරු නිදහස වගේ වල්බුරු free market එක හරියන්නේ නැහැ. You need a regulated free market. Like it's an oxymoron if you put it that way, but you do need some sort of a visible hand to slap the market into the right direction.
Vietnam didn't get on the electric vehicles bandwagon because of the free market, right? The free market didn't exist. Same with Korea or Japan when they started, neither.
And don't forget Taiwan, right? The fact that they went to microchips is not the president that became the guy who became the president of Taiwan and who steered the local industry towards chip manufacturing was a guy who worked in Silicon Valley. So he had his education in the States, in Silicon Valley, and he saw like, okay, this is where the world is going. He goes back to his home country, he gets elected, and he's like, all right, this is my agenda, make this happen. And here we are.
So it boils down to the fact that we are ruled by idiots, right? Like we've been electing idiots over and over and over again. So you as a viewer, you have the responsibility to steer the course of Sri Lanka. Like you have to put somebody who knows something about technology, because it's evident that people who know technology, like Rajita said, the Taiwan example, people who knows technology can steer a country in a better direction. That's just it. Like,
that's the thing is sometimes you don't know who to vote because all your options are shit, right? My answer
South Park episode again, like is it a third sandwich or a douchebag?
If it comes to that, my recommendation now, there are politicians ලංකාවේ ඉන්නවා, it's my way or the highway. හැමෝම මේ වගේනේ. මම දන්නවා මම බලයට આવත් මම දන්නවා කරන්න කොහොමද කියලා. අර ඒ වගේ මෙන්ටැලිටි එක මම හිතනවා හොඳ නෑ කියලා. collaborative approach එකක් යන කට්ටිය හොඳයි කියලා මට හිතෙනවා.
එතෙන්ට එන්න අපි ෆලෝ කරන්න ඕන මොකක් දන්න දර මුත්තගේ අඹ ඇටේ තේරය you know
ඕය
so
මට නෙවේ ගහ
මට නෙවේ ගහ you always have to think that ඒකයි මම කලින් කිව්වා like yeah the system sucks you know these three dudes from three western countries talking shit about my country right that's how you feel like ahana kenek vidara then you but the fact of the matter is you can individually if we start changing eventually a good candidate will show up it has to happen right it might not be today වා සමහර විට වාට දැන් අවුරුදු 20 නම් ඒ කැන්ඩිඩේට් එන්දී වාට වයස අවුරුදු 40ක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් එතකන් ලෝකේ පැවතුනත් ඊට කලින් we could just work with each other but you know but you have to work towards it you can't be hopeless and you can't play along because you have to kind of have that you know a sense of fairness number one and number two is like it's existential like we almost killed ourselves right like the economy we went bankrupt like that's not something we even imagined as children like a country could like our country
we be bankrupt
to go to that level we knew it was shit but we were like it can't be that bad right and we would laugh at African countries like ඉස්සර අපි කියන්නේ මොනවාද අර සිම්බාබ්වෙන් පාන් ගේනවද මොකක්ද එහෙම අර
නෑ උඹට කියන්නේ we used to laugh at Japan because their yen was under a rupee and now we are worse than Japan like that's just stating facts we have no future we have nothing so the only way we can come out of this is perseverance and steering it in the right direction
no
so we have to like you know keep the pressure on but in the right direction we can't just say root again man ලංකාවේ තිබ්බ ලොකුම ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි politics එක it was always people like you know it was always that guy and this guy and his friend and his brother and all it's never been about policy it's never been about policy so we have to as a country ප්‍රතිපත්ති කියන එක අපි හොඳට ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕනේ මේ කියන්නේ මුංගේ කියන්නේ න්‍යාය මොකක්ද මේක කොහොමද කරන්නේ මම ජොබ් 1000ක් දෙනවා නම් 1000 එන්නේ කොහෙන්ද කවුද ඒක කරන්නේ so we have to go beyond the promise as a people
අනික 100%ක්ම දේවල් හරියට කරන්න ඕනෙත් නෑ දැන් මොකද කැඩිච්ච සිස්ටම් එක ඔයාසෙල්ලම් කරනවා නම් you have to play by the broken rules because otherwise you are going to get killed off
Exactly.
So I'm fully empathetic with that. I'm fully empathetic, but you can make a tiny change, right? Just do one thing that is like not motivated by selfishness or nepotism or favoration, and that one thing will become 2 things tomorrow, and 5 things in 5 years, and 100 things for the next generation. I think that's how you foster change. Like, api awut okko wenas kala hamadem hadana කියන එක ගොන් කතාව. Countries don't operate that way. Societies don't operate that way. So
yeah again කවුරු හරි එනවනම් මට niche ප්‍රශ්න ටිකක් කියලා මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ මම විසඳන්න කියලා I would vote for them
yeah
than somebody who would say like I'll get it all done like
Right.
he can't no one can fix it all
Exactly.
but yeah
And I know this is a cliche, but be the change you want to see වගේ
yeah
තමුන් වෙනස් වුණාම ගොඩක් දේවල් වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
And the fact of the matter is there are countries in this world who were in a shittier state than Sri Lanka who turn things around. So it's not impossible.
Look at Greece.
Vietnam take Vietnam Greece
Greece is now the best performing economy, one of the best performing economies in Europe.
yeah
Jeez.
exactly
No, Greece, look at the Prime Minister of Greece. Very, very interesting guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, one of my professors working for him.
Oh
sweet
yeah. Greece has been out of my radar, so I need to look into that stuff.
Check it out.
Yeah.
check it out.
Cool.
Yeah. But you're right. Things can be turned, and I think that's a good, positive way to end the discussion today, isn't it?
yeah definitely
We can put a pin to
Yeah.
that with that thought.
yeah we can put we thought we were going to talk about TV but we talked about Sri Lanka a lot because I think that's because we as a community we feel like we are losing this battle but there's hope in
There's an anxiety there, right?
horizon. There's an anxiety there
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
you keep we keep talking about policy, and policy brings anxiety about policy in general, not just EV. That's why. But Tisura, dude, thank you so much for joining us.
yeah
Thanks for inviting me. This is
Dude,
great.
you're so smart. Like, you're one of the smartest people I've spoken to. Like, I feel නිකන් අද කෑමනොදක් ගැහුවත් I feel like I learned something, so thank you for participating.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
Nah, that's why Rajit, I say we should
Yeah.
bring him in because like the conversation just gets so better, like you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah, great conversation.
Yeah,
and
so-
keep on doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully for the next one we are gonna bring an environmentalist, and then we'll try to bring you and my other friend together, so we can have a rational talk about how we can get out of the whole climate thing, how we can be realistic about it. Like we hear a lot of fluff. We hear a lot of fluff about environmentalism, but we'll have a chat and then yeah, hopefully. මේ ඉති ඔගොල්ලොත් හිතනවනම් මේක පට්ට කන්වර්සේෂන් එක කියලා පල්ලා සබ්ස්ක්‍රයිබ් කරන්න අමතක කරන්න එපා, ලයික් කරන්න, යාළුවන්ට කියන්න අමතක කරන්න එපා.
ඩිස්කෝඩ් එකට ජොයින් වෙන්න.
Discord එකට join වෙන්න. So Tisura, any closing comments?
anything to plug?
But I think,
Yeah,
I
you
think
can plug.
change happens with people. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people who are changing every day. Also
Yeah.
true with when you look at collectively infrastructure investments, electric vehicles. So I think the ekanakari මේක අහලා වෙනස් වෙනවා නම් I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
facts.
For sure. Facts, definitely facts. So ඉලෙක්ට්‍රික් කාර් එකක් ගන්න අමතක කරන්න එපා. BYD එකෙන් ගන්න, මට ගාණක් හම්බ වෙනවා BYD එක ප්ලග් කරාට.
යකෝ වේගාලෙන් ගනින් ලංකාවේ හදන්නේ.
I know.
ඒක
Get a
three-wheel එකක්,
three-wheeler.
three-wheel එකක්.
Yeah.
Dude, like
Do some Uber.
Yeah. Everyone should get electric three wheels and electric fucking scooters.
Oh.
Country
Yeah.
will develop. බලපන්.
And when it
Yeah.
comes to policies,
වේගයක එකක්
do your own
Yeah.
calculations. නේද? ඒ කියන්නේ ඉන්න මිනිස්සුකින් දෙය අහන්න නැතුව බොරු වලට අහු වෙන්නේ නැතුව do your own research.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's a really good point. And one of the best things you can do, like make a hana kattiya, then content karna kattiya inna nang, like informing the population itself is a great service. It allows people to make better decisions. Then there's also a media issue in Sri Lanka as well. වැඩ කරති දෙයක් කවදත් propagate වෙන්නේ mainstream එකට. So
Yeah.
you know there are so many ways you can approach this problem and tackle it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no one smoking gun, like one thing you can do, but systematically over
Yeah.
time, you know, I'm better pala karan. That's all I had to say.
Yeah.
One cast out.
Unstable.
One cast out, lies.
Peace.
Thank you, Tisura. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah.